Son-in-Law of Discord by Disney Fanatic 2364. Chapter 5. The Lost Heir. I have a sister. Mothball asked in disbelief. Hey! All the female changelings present exclaimed. Sorry. I mean a royal sister. Yes, Chrysalis sighed as she stared up at the black canopy. Bellatrix. Now that girl had spunk, something every queen should have. She would always go on and on about what she would do when she was queen, and would practice her magic whenever possible. Unfortunately, she didn't have the power you had, my son. When you were 12, you could turn into a fly. When she was 12, she couldn't even turn into an earth filly. Screwball looked at Mothball questioningly. It's harder than other pony forms, 'cause you have to hide your wings and horn, he explained. She couldn't even control minds like you, Chrysalis continued. You have mind control powers? Screwball inquired. It's not like I ever use it, Mothball murmured. Exactly. Chrysalis exclaimed. That was always the problem with you, Mothball. You have so much power, yet refuse to use it. It was the opposite with Bellatrix. She would show off her power all the time, not that there was much to show off. She also wasn't very clever, and would have a hard time getting food because she couldn't make ponies love her enough. She groaned. Couldn't blame them. There wasn't much to love. I suppose she got that quality from her father, whoever it was. Screwball raised an eyebrow. Chrysalis rolled her eyes in response. I was very active at the time. So what happened to Princess Not Lovable? The chaotic pony asked. When she was 18, she had made little improvement, so I decided to give her a challenge. I thought some time outside the hive would build up her strength, so I banished her for 5 years. Screwball snorted. Well, aren't you Mother of the Year? But that was before I was born, right? Mothball questioned. Why didn't she come back? Oh, she did, Chrysalis replied. You had just been born, actually. Frankly, your sister became jealous of you. Also, her time in the outside world had apparently made her weaker. She wouldn't stop talking about friendship and how there were more important things than power. So she left again, this time on her own accord. Since I had you to replace her, I thought nothing of it then. So where is this Bellatrix now? Asked Screwball. The Queen shrugged. Don't know. Haven't seen or heard from her in 10 years. She could be dead for all I know. 10 years. Mothball said. But I thought you said she came back when I was born. Oh, she came back again, to ask a favor. But I was 12 then. I would have seen her. You would have, but you were otherwise. She darted her eyes at Screwball, occupied. The chaotic pony shrugged. What are the odds? That was the last time I saw her. She could be anywhere now, using a different name, a different body. So say this Princess Bellatrix is still out there, Screwball said, do you think she'd be up for taking the throne instead of Mothball? Chrysalis gazed back up in thought. Our last meeting wasn't very pleasant, but she'd certainly want the throne more than you, son. I still think she'd make a poor ruler, but at least she's not as much a goody-goody as you. However, even if she is alive, you'd have a hard time finding her, even with your changeling nostrils. She's right, Mothball nodded. Finding a disguised changeling princess in Equestria would be like finding a needle in a haystack. But if we do find her, said Screwball, and she does agree to take the throne, then Mothball's off the hook, right? Whatever, Chrysalis groaned. The changelings need a ruler, no matter who it is. Of course, you'll have to find her quickly. Why? Mothball asked. Because I'm dying, you imbecile. The Queen boomed, sitting up. I have to give the royal blessing. The title is not official until I do. She coughed as she lay back down. General Mantis was immediately at her side. Take it easy, my queen, he whispered. Great! Screwball exclaimed, turning to her fiancé. So we just have to find this Bellatrix, demand that she takes the throne and we can get married with no strings attached. But how are we going to do that? Mothball questioned. She could be anywhere. I have no idea. Ooh! Lieutenant Bombus piped. Maybe you can find a clue in her room. Bombus! Mantis bellowed. No, General, Chrysalis moaned. He's right. But my queen, you forbade. I know what I forbade. But I'm at death's door, General. Show them to Bellatrix's room. The general sighed. Lieutenant, escort the prince and his, he grunted, fiancé to the princess's chamber. Bombus saluted and gestured for the couple to follow him. Screwball took Mothball's hoof. We'll find your sister, she whispered, and all of this will be over. Chrysalis sighed as she watched them leave. They remind me so much. She whispered. Remind you of what, your majesty? Mantis inquired. So much, so much. You should rest, my queen, the general said, setting her head down. You've been through a lot. Before she drifted off to sleep, one word escaped her lips. Discord. Asterisk. It was Chrysalis's 12th birthday and she was out on her first hunt. She was flying over the lifeless trees as she scanned the ground. So far, she hadn't had much luck in finding prey, as not many creatures dwelled within the changeling forest, for obvious reasons. Then she spotted a brown speck on the ground and slowly floated down to find that it was a strange creature the size of a small pony, but it didn't look like one. It had the grey head of a pony with a black mane going down its neck and a white mop at the top, but the rest of its long, brown body was made up of many different types of animals. Curious, Chrysalis perched herself on a branch and watched the strange little beast. It was staring at its reflection in a puddle. The sadness in its face made her heart swell in sympathy. Poor little guy. She shook the thought out of her head. She was on a hunt, and it was her job to feed off other creatures' emotions. Her mother, Queen Arachne, had told her not to return until she had gained enough power to feed an army. So she used the spell her mother had taught her to peer into the creature's heart and see who it loved, as love was the strongest emotion for a changeling to feed on. Her eyes widened in surprise at what she saw. Nothing. There was no one the creature loved. She was so stunned that she didn't hear the branch crack, but the creature did. It jumped up and searched from left to right. Who's there? It called in a male teenage voice. Chrysalis gasped when a baseball bat appeared out of nowhere. She stepped forward to see if her eyes were deceiving her, but putting her weight on the branch made it snap. She let out a shriek as she plummeted to the ground. She groaned in pain as she opened her eyes. They were met with a pair of yellow ones with red pupils. She yelped at the fact that she had been caught and quickly changed form. It was too late though. He had already seen her. When she turned back at his request, he was surprisingly unafraid. The creature was a draken equus named Discord, and he interested the young changeling princess. He was so strange, and the fact that there was no one he loved intrigued her. She became even more impressed once she realized he had powers beyond belief. And though she was reluctant to admit it, he was sort of cute. In a chaotic way. When she heard he didn't have a place to stay, she had the strangest feeling that it was her duty to help him. Maybe it was because he had said he was all alone in the world. Despite the fact that she was a princess with 1,000 half-siblings, Chrysalis sometimes felt that way too. She rarely left the hive, and her mother didn't want her playing with the other changeling children, as she was above them. But this young creature was just as powerful as she was, maybe even more. Perhaps that factor would make her mother allow her to keep him as a playmate? Or at least a pet. Either way, she asked him to come back to the hive with her. Why? He questioned. Chrysalis wasn't sure why, but she wanted to help Discord, to learn more about him. She shrugged. That's what friends do. He stared at her in disbelief. We're friends. She held out her hoof. Sure. Why not? She really had no better explanation, and the thought made her smile. He looked at her hoof with uncertainty. Come on, she urged. Would I steer you wrong? He stared at her for another minute before slowly taking her hoof. I really don't know the answer to that, but I've got no other option. Chrysalis giggled like a giddy school filly as she dragged him to the hive. The guards at the entrance raised their eyebrows as the princess walked through with a strange creature, but she didn't pay them any heed. Mother, mother! She called. Look what I found! A tall changeling resembling Chrysalis, but with green hair, was conversing with one of her lieutenants. Her head turned at the sound of her daughter's voice. She hissed when she caught sight of Discord. What is that? Whoa, Discord uttered as he gazed up at the changeling queen. You're tall. You're like one of those dead trees out there. The queen growled as her horn glowed green. Why, you little... Mother, wait! Chrysalis exclaimed, standing between them. He's a friend. Queen Arachne's horn dimmed as she looked questioningly at her daughter. Friend? Yet. His name is Discord. He's a Draconi, a whatever. I found him out in the forest. Anyway, he needs a place to stay, so I brought him here. Her mother blinked in confusion and then scowled. Chrysalis, I sent you out there to hunt. Not to make friends. Please, 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 mother. Can we keep him? I promise he'll make himself useful. Discord, show her that trick of yours. The young Draken Equus smiled and snapped his talons. Arachne gasped when a small pink cloud appeared and started pouring brown rain. How? Then her lips curled into an evil grin. Oh, I see. He's too powerful for you to consume on your own, so you brought him back so we could all have a snack, What? Discord squeaked. No, mother. Chrysalis insisted. I didn't bring him for you to drain. Besides, even if I did, it would be impossible, because he doesn't love anybody. Arachne's smile vanished and she squinted at Discord. After a few seconds, her eyes widened. She looked sternly at her daughter. Dearest, she spoke in a low voice, might I speak with you in private? Chrysalis put her hooves behind her back nervously. It was never good when her mother spoke in that tone. Yes, mother, she murmured. The queen turned to her lieutenant. Make sure that thing doesn't cause any trouble. The lieutenant saluted and went to Discord's side. I'll be right back, Chrysalis whispered to him before following her mother to the tower. As Arachne shut the door, she turned coldly toward her daughter. That thing can't stay here. But mother... Chrysalis started to protest. The queen held up her hoof. No. He has no emotion for us to feed on. What good is his power if we have no way to consume it? Maybe we don't need his power. Can't we just keep him the way he is? I mean, he has no place to go. Arachne arched an eyebrow. Why are you so concerned for this creature? Well... The princess looked down at her hooves and blushed. I think he kinda likes me. Her mother huffed. Likes you? In this form? Darling, you know as well as I do that no one can love a changeling, at least while undisguised. But he didn't run when he saw me. That doesn't mean he likes you. He's a monster himself, so it's no surprise that he had little fear. But, he could. Chrysalis! Arachne exclaimed, stomping her hoof firmly on the floor. I've seen his heart. It's as empty as a bottomless pit, with no love to give you or anyone else. But... Chrysalis sniffed as tears formed in her eyes. But... Oh, Chrissy, Arachne whispered as she lifted her daughter's chin. You're too young to comprehend. If you're going to be queen one day, there is one thing you must remember, love is a weakness. The princess tilted her head. But don't we gain power from love? Exactly. It's weakness to whoever feels it, but strength to those who can take advantage of it, like us. But for us to feel love will only lead to our destruction. Take you and this creature, for instance. If this, liking you have for him becomes anything more, you would never be able to drain him of his power. But you said he doesn't. There are other ways. The queen released her daughter and began pacing the room. Even if we can't drain his power, we can still use it to our advantage. You said this creature was looking for a home, yes? Chrysalis nodded. He's the last of his kind. Yes, Arachne murmured, rubbing her chin. It just might work. What might work, mother? You know that new land just over the mountains? That place has a very special kind of magic that I've been dying to get my hooves on, but that same magic protects it. She chuckled to herself. Perhaps, if that little creature gets motivated enough. Chrysalis bit her lip. What do you mean, mother? Arachne grinned mischievously. Chrissy, my darling, would you do your mummy a small favor? She whispered her plan in her daughter's ear and Chrysalis became sick to her stomach as she listened. Mother, I can't. You must, Arachne demanded. It'll hurt him. If you're going to be queen of the changelings, you must learn not to let your emotions get in your way of power. But how about I make you a deal? If this plan succeeds, and the new land becomes ours, you can do whatever you like with that creature. She tapped her chin. Now that I think about it, that would make our takeover all the more official. She nudged the princess toward the door. Now go, my girl. Make mummy proud. Arachne opened the door with her magic. Through it, Discord was juggling broken bottles for a group of worker changelings. Chrysalis glanced at him and then back at her mother. She shrunk under her cold stare. There was no use arguing with her mother. She always got her way, no matter what. Chrysalis looked back at Discord and gulped. She slowly approached him, her heart growing heavier with every step she took. The Draken Equus smiled when he saw her. Hey, Chrissy! He exclaimed. Watch this! He tossed all the broken bottles in the air. When they came down, they were oranges. Chrysalis couldn't help but laugh, but then frowned when she remembered her task. Discord. She squeaked. Yeah. Discord said. The princess looked down at her hooves and rubbed her foreleg awkwardly. You see. She glanced back at her mother, who was standing in the entrance of the tower, urging her to continue. Well, she gulped, looking back at Discord. You can't stay here. Sadness welled up in the young creature's face. You don't want me here. No, I do. But, my mother doesn't. He hung his head. Oh. I see. I'm really sorry, but... No, it's okay, he sighed, turning to leave. No one ever wants me around. Wait. She shouted, a little too loudly. There is a place you can go. He looked back at her skeptically. What do you mean? She took a deep breath. Just over the mountains is a land of ponies. All types of ponies, unicorns, earth ponies, and pegasi. They all live together in harmony and accept each other's differences. You're, sort of a pony. They might accept you as well. She choked on her words, knowing that last part wasn't true. The hopeful look on Discord's face made it worse. You really think so? She winced. Why yes. What is this land of ponies? They call it, Chrysalis breathed again, Equestria. Asterisk. As Mothball and Screwball followed Lieutenant Bombus, they passed by a large room that was sealed off with crystallized mucus. Mothball paused and looked at it closely. What's wrong? Screwball asked. That's my room, the prince muttered. Oh, yeah, Bombus snorted. The queen did that shortly after you left. She didn't want anyone going in there. He continued forward, but Mothball was frozen in place. Screwball lightly took his hoof and dragged him along. You okay? She whispered. She just. He stammered. She just forgot about me. Cast me aside, pretended like I never existed, just like she did with Bellatrix. Is that all I am to her? Something that can be replaced. She patted him on the back. Hey, that's probably not true. She paused. Okay, maybe it is, but hey. She called you back, didn't she? Only because she didn't have anyone else. You heard her. She thinks Bellatrix would make a better ruler than me. She just brought me back because I was easier to find. But isn't that good? I mean, if we find Bellatrix, you won't have to be king, and we can be together. That's what you want, right? He sighed. I guess. Screwball frowned and let her hoof fall. You guess? What do you mean you guess? Mothball opened his mouth as he struggled to find an answer. Fortunately, Lieutenant Bombus came to his rescue. Here we are. Mothball relayed his surroundings. He was in a lower part of the hive he had never explored before. In front of them was a large, circular doorway that had fragments of crystallized mucus decorating the edge. He figured there must have been a barrier there that had recently been blasted through. Hanging from the doorway was an old black curtain, much like the one that used to conceal Mothball's room. The lieutenant pulled it back to reveal the changeling princess's old chamber. In the center was a black, queen-sized canopy bed that was covered in dust and cobwebs. On the left was a bookshelf and on the right was a green vanity. The green walls were covered in colorful posters. Her Majesty ordered that this room remain untouched, Bombus explained. No one's been in here since the princess left. He smiled brightly. Well, good luck. I'll be out here if you need anything else. Screwball muttered. Well, let's get started. Mothball nodded dumbly as he followed her into the room. Okay, she said, pointing to the side with the vanity. You take that side and I'll take this side. He didn't say anything as he complied with her request. He started searching through the vanity while Screwball rummaged through the bookshelf. She whistled as she read the titles. Check this out. The History of Star Swirl the Bearded. Hoofdeni's Great Escapes. The Magician's Hoof Book. This Bellatrix sure was a fan of magic. Mothball levitated an old green crystal brush out of the drawer. And she sure liked beautifying herself. He examined the hairs on the brush. Hey! Her mane was green. Well, that's a surprise. Look at these posters here. She sure had a crush on Star Swirl the Bearded. Mothball shrugged. Mother did say she tried to improve her magic in any way possible. He tilted his head when he came upon a pack of playing cards and a plastic wand. Real magic or not? I've never heard of this guy, Screwball said as she pointed to a poster of a brown unicorn with blue eyes and a brown beard, wearing a green top hat and cape. Oshkar the Great? Probably some amateur magician. Mothball paused as he gazed at all the posters. Screwball noticed and frowned. Hey, what's up? Mother never let me decorate my room, he mumbled. Oh. She tried to think of something comforting to say. Well, she stuttered, look at it this way. She preserved your room. You mean sealed it off, he muttered. But she didn't destroy it. I mean she kept this room in decent condition, right? He said nothing, so she decided to look under the bed. Hey, I found something. She used her magic to bring out a grey pony rag doll wearing polka-dotted pants. Mothball scrunched his nose. What is that? It's a Smarty-Pants doll, Screwball declared. Apple Blossom had one of these when she was little. I guess this belonged to Bellatrix. Mothball took it in his hooves. He was so confused. Mother had let Bellatrix decorate her room? She had even let her keep a doll? He sniffed it curiously. Mother has touched this. Screwball tilted her head. How can you even tell? I mean, I know you have that super smell and all, but every changeling has a distinct scent. We all smell of dried mustard, but with something else thrown in. How else do you think we're able to tell the difference between male and female? She shrugged. Fair enough. Anyway, royal changelings are a mix of mustard and plumeria. Mother has that, plus some jasmine to verify that she's female and a hint of sulfur. Black. Screwball gagged. Sounds awful. You get used to it. So what do I smell like? Chocolate milk with a hint of cotton candy. Oh, and there's a bit of strawberries in there somewhere. She blushed. Oh, you. I think I've got Bellatrix's scent on here too, he said, inhaling the doll again. But it's very faint. It hasn't been used in so long, and Mother's scent is masking it. Why not try this brush here? Screwball said, summoning the crystal brush covered in green hair. Mothball took the brush and let his nostrils draw in the scent. Mustard. He sniffed again. Plumeria. And again. Jasmine. He inhaled deeper. Burnt toast. She sounds fun, Screwball joked. But it's like Mother said, even if I have her scent, it would take forever to find her. Do you know any magic that could help us? She shrugged. I could try and summon her, but I've never met this girl, so that would make it harder. I could teleport us to her, but I don't know where she is. Even chaos magic has its limits. Suddenly, a light bulb appeared over her head. I've got it. Auntie Twilight once showed me a spell that can find some pony using something that belonged to that pony. Can you cast it? Mothball asked. She sighed. Unfortunately, finding spells aren't my forte. But if we bring that brush to Auntie Twilight, maybe she can help us. Her smile disappeared. Uh-oh. What? Screwball glanced at her hoof and summoned a watch. Holy free holies. It's almost 9 a.m. We gotta get back to the castle. Now? Why? She rolled her eyes. Think about it. The two of us are engaged and neither of us are in our beds. What's Dad gonna think? Mothball tapped his chin. I have 3 guesses. And they are: 1. That we eloped. 2. That we went off someplace to, you know. 3. That I led you into the deepest part of the forest, sucked you dry, flew off into the night and left you for dead. You know my dad so well. Now grab that brush and let's go before he notices we're gone. Mothball nodded and levitated the brush. Screwball raised an eyebrow as he set the Smartapants doll on his back. What are you doing? He stammered. You know, in case the brush isn't enough. Screwball shook her head with a smile. Sure, whatever you say. She placed her hoof on Mothball's shoulder and teleported them to her room back at the Castle of Chaos. You think he noticed we were gone? The changeling asked. They heard a cough and turned to see Discord sitting on the bed, his arms crossed and his eyes glaring fiercely at them. He noticed, he growled. Author's note. Okay, I'll admit it. The whole Finding Next Heir premise was borrowed from Shrek the Third. Hey, another threequel, but I promise you it's not gonna follow that plot in its entirety. Okay, fine, so a bit of Mother Gothel from Tangled was incorporated into Queen Arachne, meaning spider, thought it was appropriate. And yes, I believe you know what Ashkar the Great is a reference of. Update April 30, 2016, hey, I was right about Trixie being a fan of Hoofdani. Ain't that cool? End author's note. End chapter 5. The Lost Heir.